Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm going to be testing the Asus ROG Ally in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Let's get into it, shall we? Alright, let's go over its specs first. Here in the desktop, you can see all of the GPU specs in TechPowerUp's GPU-Z. We got 4GB of DDR5 allocated as VRAM and 768 shading units because this is the Ryzen Z1 Extreme version of the ROG Ally. Over on the memory tab, you can see 16GB that we got here, 12 of which are being utilized as system RAM. And if you're wondering, I'm gonna record everything with an external display. It's connected via USB-C, as you can see right now, to the actual ROG dock, and then the dock is plugged into an external capture card, and everything is being recorded in another PC. So there are no performance losses here, and you'd see exactly the same performance in the ROG Ally screen. Let's get to the game now. Alright, here we go. We're inside of the game, getting 21 FPS. Oh my god. Alright, that's really low. First, let's go over the command center here. The operating mode is set to turbo. We got RSR on, but I'm actually going to disable it. Sometimes you get a few more FPS by disabling this. Now, going over the actual game settings, we're playing at 1080p first. Obviously, I'm going to lower it down, as well as use some FSR3 a little bit later. Let's start with TAA, which is slightly less intensive. Scaling mode is turned off here. I'm going to apply that. There we go. Over on the graphics settings, I manually set everything to the lowest. This turned on is actually the lowest setting, by the way. And yeah, it can't really go lower than this here. So let's see. Let's play the game for a bit. Alright, it is looking really good still, even on the lowest settings possible. This game impresses in terms of graphical fidelity. Look at this. This is actually really good. But unfortunately, it's going to be completely unplayable here at the native 1080p resolution. Look at the 1% lows and the stuttering happening. Jesus, that is way too much stutter. Oh my god. Oh my, it's not even loading things properly. What happened there? It is very, very hard to play like this, guys. I mean, it's not possible. I'm gonna call it an unplayable experience completely. Hopefully it will smooth out over time as we lower the settings and so on. But yeah, I feel like what's happening here is we don't really have enough RAM, because I've seen this game utilizing a lot more RAM than 12 gigabytes in my other PCs that have 32 gigs of RAM. So I feel like the stuttering is happening because of that, although right now it seems like it has minimized a little bit. So if I start counting our FPS again, it should be a bit smoother of an experience with way better 1% low. So maybe it was just for the first like 30 seconds of gameplay to a minute that it stutters like crazy, and then it smooths out as things swap probably from VRAM to RAM and from RAM to the SSD, because that's what happens when you run out of RAM. It actually starts using your storage device to offload some things that should be on RAM too, and you get insane stuttering because of that, because the storage devices are way slower than system RAM. But hey, at least it is now kind of playable, you know? My god, no, yeah. As soon as you start loading in more areas, it just dies for a second. Oh boy. See, this is what I don't really like about the ROG Ally. The ROG Ally. I'm gonna keep calling it ROG Ally. I don't care what Asus says, honestly. But yeah, this is a big shortcoming for AAA titles with the ROG Ally, because it only has 12 gigabytes of usable system RAM if you want to keep the 4 gigabytes of VRAM that come by default. A lot of people actually start utilizing like 6 gigabytes of VRAM and then 10 for system RAM, and it works quite well in other games, but in this one we actually do need more RAM, not really VRAM. Okay, let's use some FSR3 now on performance. Yeah, let's do performance. Performance still looks okay on such a small screen like this, 7 inches, you know. We can utilize some frame generation, and I'm gonna do it in just a little bit, but first let's try this on fixed mode. Yeah, god, no! It's still crap, guys. It's still crap. Look at that. Wait, I'm just gonna stand still for a little bit just to see it without any stuttering. We'd be getting like 25 FPS, around that, if the RAM was enough to run this game. But unfortunately, it isn't, as you know already. so we can't really get a smooth 25 FPS. Although sometimes it won't really stutter all that much, as you can see right now. It's okay. It's a smooth cinematic experience, you could say. What I'm most impressed about right now is the quality of the graphics with performance FSR3 at 1080p resolution. That's a really low res that we're running on. It's actually 540p, and it still looks all right, even on my big screen that I'm running it on right now because of the external capture card and so on. Doesn't look terrible, so I bet that on the 7-inch display, as I said, it's gonna look really decent still. Tons of detail, quite a bit of noise, of course, whenever you're moving the camera around like this. You can see all of the little details pixelating themselves when I turn the camera around, but it's not really that big of a deal on such a small screen once again. And right now, it hasn't really stuttered for a while. Oh, hello, Jax, how's it going? No, do not come after me, please. Oh my god, it's starting to stutter again. No, please don't. Ah. There goes our 1% lows, my friends. They were starting to smooth out, but I guess now it needed to load in some other things, and it's gone again. We got a massive stutter. So because of that, it is not playable. Because if it wasn't for that, I bet we could make it playable with some frame generation. I'm gonna try that out right now, guys. Okay, here we go. Turn on frame generation, apply. Come on. And we're back here, okay? So performance FSR using frame generation on top of it. Oh, it definitely feels a lot smoother now, although still stuttering though. But aside from the stutters, when you're turning the camera around like this, you can definitely feel the difference between 40 frames per second smoothness and 25 frames per second smoothness. Unfortunately, it's not gonna get rid of the stuttering issues that we see here. It's still really bad though because of 25 FPS input lag. It's what we're getting right now, but the smoothness makes it way more bearable than it was without frame generation, that's for sure. But this is really nice technology in my opinion, and on a handheld device like this, when it makes all of the difference, guys. Again, it's just a really big shame to see it come with 16 gigabytes of RAM in total. Because even if it was like 20 gigabytes, for example, if they managed to put it in dual channel, you know, it would have been a much better console for these AAA titles. Because as you can see, this is now okay, like it's getting 44 frames per second on average. That means that one of the best looking games out there at the moment would have been playable on a handheld device while plugged in, of course, using 30-watt turbo mode and at the lowest settings possible as well, but it could have been playable with 44 FPS average. Oh my god, it's so bad actually. Alright, in this area it's still not dropping from 30, but the frame time graph went crazy right now. It's just gone. It's stopping as well. Oh, it's really bad. It is really terrible. Oh my goodness. Okay. Alright, I set it to 720p now. We're still using FSR3 with frame generation enabled, performance, quality, and fixed over here, and still with the lowest settings possible. And alright, look at that. Standing still, it actually reaches 60 FPS. So once again, if it wasn't for the lack of RAM, it could have been playable, guys. I mean, now it's starting to look really bad and pixelated, way more pixelated, because it's half of 720p, it's 360p now, the render resolution, but then it upscales it, of course, with FSR3, and it puts frame generation on top, which makes things a little bit softer as well. But we could have had 60 frames per second sometimes on a handheld device, and the input lag at 60-ish frames per second is not as bad. It's actually livable with. I guess I could actually play like this. It's about like 30 to 40 frames per second input lag, what we're seeing here, so it's okay. It's manageable for sure, especially on a little controller like this one. But no, the stuttering just ruins the experience completely, guys. I'm gonna try to use like 6 gigabytes of VRAM and 10 gigabytes of RAM to see if it improves something. It could be stuttering because of VRAM instead of RAM, but I doubt it, because we also need more RAM for this game, as I told you, so still, I'm gonna try it, guys, okay? it's kind of in a desperate attempt. All right, we're back here. Now you can see in Tech Power Up's GPU Z that we have the 6 gigabytes of DDR5 allocated for the GPU. And over in Task Manager, we only have 10 gigabytes of RAM. And that won't be enough, because in the GTX 1066 gigabyte video that I made, it was using more than 5 gigabytes of VRAM and also more than 12 gigabytes of RAM. And we are back here, my friends. I'm gonna start counting our FPS. We're still at 720p resolution. Oh boy, no, yeah, it's still stopping. Oh, 4 FPS, 1% lows. It's the same thing, guys. It's the same thing. Usually in these APUs doesn't really matter much in most titles if you use 6 gigabytes of dedicated VRAM or not, because the system RAM is the VRAM for these APUs. So if they run out of VRAM and start utilizing system RAM as VRAM, it's exactly the same thing as having it set to VRAM already. Like, there's not much of a difference in most games again. And as you can see here, we had exactly the same experience. Ugh, damn, that's just terrible. Oh boy, Jack is coming for us, my friends. I'm just gonna show you the settings again so you know that everything is still the same. The video, there we go. 720p, FSR3, frame generation, performance, so it's actually 360p being upscaled, and the lowest settings possible again, guys. I did not change anything, only the VRAM amount, or dedicated VRAM. So unfortunately, there's nothing you can do to make this game playable on the ROG Ally. Maybe installing a lighter version of Windows. I don't know if that would work, but I doubt it. Well, anyways, that's been it for this one. Oh, I told you that I was gonna try some 15-watt stuff, so here we go. Right, let's do this. So at 15 watts performance mode, it still gets pretty decent FPS, although it's at 20 watts at the moment. We gotta wait a little bit until it drops to 15 to see it properly. So I'm gonna just walk around for a bit. You know what? I'm not saying that the Ally is a bad product, because I have been enjoying it a lot, playing like Slay the Spire and the new Aliens game. Well, new. It's not really new, but the Dark Descent one, you know, it works great here. It works well in many titles, but obviously these latest AAA games, you should avoid them in such a little system like this one. It is not gonna work properly. Alright, it's taking a really long time to reach 15 watts, so what I'm gonna do now is just set it to 10. It goes straight down to 10 watts right away. What the hell happened? Oh my gosh, what is this? I just switched the power mode and now things are not loading anymore. Damn! It's getting 19, oh boy, 17 FPS at times. Yep, it looks terrible. What the hell is that? It's probably our time. Oh my god, this is the most input lag that I've ever seen with frame generation, guys. It's like a full second of input lag. Jesus. Also, at these lower FPS, since I'm standing still, we can appreciate the actual image quality here. 360p is what we're looking at, being upscaled, of course, and it does look nothing like 360p. It looks way better than that. So FSR3, again, making a good job of upscaling the low resolution that we're running the game on. Also, GPU usage is not maxed out anymore, so we're fully CPU bound at the moment, because the CPU is running at a half a gigahertz. Oh my god, it's 0.5 gigahertz, 500 and something megahertz right there. Damn, that's really low. Alright guys, that's been it for this one. If you were wondering if you should buy the game or install the game on your ROG Ally, don't do it, okay? We're having so many artifacts because of frame generation already. Sometimes there's an arm just appearing out of nowhere on top of the screen, so weird. But yeah. Don't do this. Catch you in the next one very soon. Love you all. Bye-bye.